Okay, we are recording. So good evening and welcome everyone. So welcome to the Beyond Psychology call. So I'll give a bit of a background for those of you that are new here, and we'll set the scene and we're going to do something fun tonight. So why is this call called Beyond Psychology? Because we're going beyond psychology to explain the human experience. When I first got passionate about how we tick and how to get the best from people, I thought that psychology would give me the answer to everything. I trained and became a senior lecturer in psychology. So I got, apart from being a professor, I was as high as I could get. And I didn't have all the answers. Psychology didn't give me all the answers to how we work as human beings, how to get the best from ourselves. How do we perform at our best? How do we have the best well-being? And it was when I came across transformative coaching and something called the 3 principles that I got all the answers to everything I ever wanted. And that is why I quit a career that took me 9-10 years to get to and started my own business coaching. So we are here to go beyond psychology to understand the human experience and how to get the best from ourselves. If you don't already know me, my name's Chris. I'm a transformative life coach, and I'm all about mindset. I'm all about our inner world and how that creates our outer world. So thank you for joining us live. If you're here live, you can ask questions, you can interact, you can use the chat box. And if you're watching the recording, you can wind this back and watch it as many times as you want. So we're going to start off with the context today being about how we create our experience. So if you've hung around me at all, you've heard me say mindset is everything. If you've hung around me a lot, you hear me say it all the time. Mindset is everything. It doesn't matter so much what is happening out there when you've mastered your mindset, because what is happening out there is experienced internally by the way that you're looking at it. So in the context of things like stress and anxiety, the body doesn't distinguish between stress and anxiety. As far as the body is concerned, stress and anxiety are the same thing. They both create the fight, flight, freeze response. They both affect the nervous system. It's only the dictionary and our use of language that distinguishes between stress and anxiety. Something happens outside that you don't want, that you don't like, that causes you some upset or discomfort or hurt or pain. We call that a stressor or an anxiety. Worry is different. Worry is like an internal behavior where we're thinking about things that we don't want to happen. That's what worry is. Stress and anxiety is what happens in the body. Now, it looks like to us that we are victims of stress and anxiety. It looks like, I know for me, I'll speak about myself, I very much used to be concerned about what would happen to me because it would cause me some stress and some anxiety. And I very much felt like a victim of circumstance. I very much was watching out for what might happen, always sort of wandering around thinking this could happen and I might be overwhelmed by this and trying to avoid bad things happening. And it was an exhausting process to go through. And it wasn't until I realized that I am the creator of my experience that I'm no longer worried about what happened to me so much. So I've always been curious about how we interpret things. And the main story I use to sort of share how we create our own stress is when I was 15, 16 years old and I'm working in my local pub and I'm doing some washing up to earn some cash. And it was cash because I was underage and I was outside the book, so it was cash in hand. It was about £2.50 an hour back in the day. And I remember there being 2 chefs that were cooking on a really busy Saturday night. And it's so busy, completely overloaded with orders. And one chef is getting completely overwhelmed and stressed. Another chef is having the time of their lives. They're in flow state. They're dancing, they're singing, they're having a great time. And I was fascinated by how both chefs, with the same amount of responsibility, with the same amount of work to do. One was having a nightmare, one was loving it. Like the contrast was so different. I was fascinated by this. And I started to realize that we create our experience independent of what's happening outside of us. And the more I studied this, the more I saw that we do this 100% of the time. Not 5% of the time, not 50% of the time, not 95% of the time, not 99% of the time. 100% of the time, we create our own experience. Because, and this is one thing I did learn from psychology, by the time we're conscious of what's going on outside of ourselves, i.e., there's 250 food orders to cook, that's just one example. I've been made redundant, I've been dumped, I don't earn enough money, I'm not good enough. By the time we're conscious of something that's going on outside of ourselves, we've already interpreted it. We've already had thinking about the thing before we're conscious of it, because our thinking comes before our consciousness. Our thinking doesn't come after consciousness like it seems to do. Our thinking comes before our consciousness. Which means by the time you're reacting to something, and most of the time we are reacting, we've already contaminated that thing with our thinking. We've already made sense of it and interpreted it and filtered that thing that we're conscious of. Because this is the principle of thought, and we project thought onto our consciousness and treat it as if it's some reality. So what's actually happening is we are creating our experience from our thinking, and then we're feeling our thinking. As my good friend and fellow coach, John Prince, says, you don't feel the truth, you feel your thinking 100% of the time. Now, this isn't some perspective. This is what I call a principle. Now, a principle isn't some take on things. It is literally, a principle is literally how we work, how things work. Like gravity. It doesn't matter if you believe in gravity or not. The force of gravity is going to have the same effect on you, whether you know about it or not. Whether you know gravity exists or not, or you believe it or not. Gravity will have the same effect on you as it will with someone that does believe in it. The principle of thought and consciousness is going to have exactly the same effect on you as it will whether you believe it or not. So if you want to have a good life, like I'd assume most people would, it's really helpful to know how life works. It's really helpful to know how human beings work. You know, like if you're going to go and play a game, you're probably going to ask what the rules are. You know, I've never played crochet. One of my friends went and played crochet the other day. Crochet, is that the right word? Crochet, where you hit it, yeah. What's the thing that's like knitting that sounds like crochet? Like, I don't know, maybe I'll not use the right word. They went and played this new game the other day, and they were like, I've never played this before. I want to know the rules. But yeah, it makes sense. I'd want to know that as well. And we're all playing this game of life. And what amazes me is we don't know the rules. We don't actually know how we work as human beings. There's a few people that seem to know, and all spiritual teachers, a lot of religions are all pointing to the same thing. That we are the creator of our experience, that we are powerful beyond measure. And we don't seem to know that. And so my job, my mission, is to help people see how powerful they are, how free they inherently are, that you can have what you want. You can have your heart's desire. You can follow where your soul is leading you. The only thing that's getting in the way of that is a story, a limiting story, a thought. Yeah, and some fear, but that just comes from your thinking. And some doubt, but that comes from your thinking too. So the only thing getting in the way of what you really want is a thought. And thoughts are really fickle. They can change in an instant. I see it happen multiple times a day. When you really see what fear is, what anxiety is, what stress is, it's no longer an obstacle for you having, or at least pursuing, what you say you want in life. So that was interesting because I had no idea what I was going to say tonight. I knew I was going to talk about the context of stress and anxiety, but there's a part of me that's also watching what I'm saying. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I was going to say that. So I have a special guest for us tonight. And this special guest is someone that I've been working with solidly now as a one-to-one coaching client for 9 months. And I mean, we've known each other before that, and I'll ask her to introduce herself in a minute. But this is someone that I believe has had quite a lot of transformation in her life. And this is someone that has overcome a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and some trauma to live what I would say is a very free and very, very powerful life. And I've asked this person to speak tonight for a few reasons. One is I thought it would be fun. Two is I thought it would do them some good. And three, I thought you guys would really benefit from it. And I could probably think of some more reasons as well, but that's the first three that pop into my mind. So this is someone that's going to sort of talk to us and sort of help me describe a little bit about how we create our stress, how we create our anxiety. So her name's Nanda, and Nanda is an absolute beautiful soul. I've loved working with her. We're going to be wrapping up really soon. It's been an absolute joy and a privilege to work with her, as it is, to be honest, with all my clients. But yeah, I'm really going to miss working with Nanda. But I think we're at the end of the road together. You know, Nanda's got everything she needs from me. And I just thought it'd be really cool for her to share what perspectives she's learned that make her life so powerful and so free. So Nanda's an entrepreneur. She seems to me to have built this incredible business, like with a lot of ease and just following her heart, following her soul. She's one of the most authentic people you ever meet, and she's just awesome. So I'm going to ask her to say hi and introduce herself. And Nanda, you can just tell us a little bit about what you think about why you're here tonight, because it might be different to what I think. And I don't know, maybe I'll ask you some questions and stuff. So over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for giving me this space to share. Yeah, I think I'm here to share my story because I was inspired by you and other people. And I hope that I can inspire everybody on this call. Because I used to be one of those people on the other side of this call, listening to you talk about how your thinking creates a world. And I used to think, oh yeah, I get it, but I don't really get it. How do I do that? And I always thought, oh, I wish I'll get there one day. I'll get there one day. And I never thought I'd be sitting here having the mind that I have right now. And it's quite incredible. So one of the first things I'm going to say is actually I felt quite anxious coming into this call because I'm here to speak about me, and I thought, oh, what if I'm not good enough and this and that. But it didn't last very long. It lasted about a second before I caught myself and I realized that I was creating my anxiety. And so, yes, I had these symptoms of like my heart was beating fast, my hands were a bit shaky. And I chose to see that as I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm ready to talk to people. And that's what I'm feeling. And once I saw myself thinking that way, it was just easier. I just feel much calmer. So I created the way that I'm feeling right now. So I didn't actually plan to talk about that, but that's actually what I just did, and I just feel like I can control my anxiety now. And actually, I don't really have anxiety anymore because it pops up for a second, and I can catch it a lot easier, and it's so much easier to realize that I'm using my thinking to create that reality of anxiety, which means I can use my thinking to create a reality of feeling calm and excited instead. So yeah, as Chris said, like I've come from a place of childhood trauma. I also had I had kind of have a a bowel disease. So it's called inflammatory bowel disease. It's called ulcerative colitis, which I've had for many years. And I came to Chris from a place where I had been through lots and lots of therapy. I tried meditation, breath work, and I was like the queen of positivity. I can very easily think positively. I can, I'm very strong. I'm always moving forward, and I'm always thinking, okay, I can do this. What's the next thing? But that never really got me anywhere. And I found that I was missing something. Like I still felt like I had that block in my body or my life where I couldn't move forward. And the only way I can describe it is that Chris helped me to understand that every decision I made, I was always coming from that place of trauma, and I had put myself in a box where I thought, oh, so I've had trauma, so that means this, and I made it mean something about me. And once we had talked a lot deeper about it, I realized that I created what I made it mean about me, which meant that I was creating the way that I was thinking about it. So the only way I can describe it is it's a bit like if you were to carry a backpack all your life, a backpack of trauma, and you do all this therapy and meditation. All you're doing is understanding what's in the backpack, and you're using tools to make you feel like the backpack feels a bit lighter. And every now and then you forget the backpack's there because it gets a bit numb, and you think you're doing really well in life, and then suddenly it comes back. And you can still feel it on your back. But whilst I was working with Chris, I realized that I could take the backpack off, and I didn't think that this was an option. And through understanding that I'm able to create that backpack, that's what I did in the first place. I created that backpack. I made it, which means that I can create how to take it off and get rid of it. I can create not having a backpack. That's the best way I can put it. But there were lots of examples. Like, for example, one of the things was I had a really bad relationship with one of my family members. And I tried everything I could to try and like forgive them and have a better relationship with them. And I could never quite get past it. I just still didn't really enjoy being around them. And what I realized was that I was creating my reality when I was with them. So when I was in a room with them, the way that I would see them and the way they would come across to me was created by me and my own thinking. And I never understood that until I had a conversation with Chris, and he said, you're the one that's creating how you see that person. And I always thought, well, how is that possible? Because the other person has a personality, and they're being mean or they're being annoying. So how does that change how I can see them? And I can't really describe it, but it's about choosing to see what you think about the situation that's in front of you. And once I did that, I felt like I could see him in a very different way, and it actually helped me to forgive him, which I never thought would be possible. And to this day, I even feel like I can actually feel love for him, which I never thought was possible either. And that's all created by my thinking and the way that I thought about the situation, and the way that I thought he was coming across to me. So rather than going into the situation thinking that, oh, he's going to be annoying and he's this and that, you go into a situation where your mind is blank, and you come from a place of how you want to come. So for me, it was I wanted to come from a place of love, and that's what I did. And once I did that, I was able to form a different type of relationship. Whereas before, I was coming from that trauma box. I was coming from that backpack that I had on. And like another example would be my colitis. It made my body quite weak. So one of the things I had about my thinking, again, because I put myself in a box of I'm a sick person, was that I'd always find some way to try and prove that my body was really strong. So I used to try and push my body, like doing adrenaline activities, like going on a bungee jump, or just simply pushing myself at the gym to prove that my body was strong. And I ended up injuring myself, or I'd get worse, or I feel sick again. And it would become like a circle where I would push myself, end up getting sick, and then feel disappointed in myself, and then think, oh, my body's weak, so I need to then prove myself again that my body is strong. And again, I realized I put myself in a box. I created that box, and I created the thought of the fact that my body was weak. And once I realized that I created that, it meant that I could create that my body was strong. I just had to open my eyes. And once I came from that place, I realized that now when I go to the gym, I go from a place of my body is strong because that's how I think it is. And it's allowed me to really see that my body is actually strong. So I broke that circle, and I no longer need to prove to myself that my body is strong because I already know it is. So I'm there to play and curious to see what my body can do. And that's it. So there's no winning and there's no losing. So yeah, I think the main thing I'm trying to say is I've come from a place of positive thinking, and it's very different to when you understand that you create your world and you create your thinking. It's not as simple as I think that I'm going to fail at this, so therefore I'm going to think that I'm going to not fail at this, because there's a subtle difference between like positive thinking and actually creating your own reality. Yeah, I can't really explain it very well. Maybe Chris, you could probably explain it better, but there's a subtle difference between the two, and that's what's helped me change.
I think you explained it really well, and I really loved hearing your story. I think you were incredibly articulate throughout. I just want to highlight a few points for everyone because you glazed over them, and they're like really powerful points. One is that, like, you said you experienced anxiety about this call, and it lasted a second, not all day or an hour or half an hour or 5 minutes, a second. And this is the thing I want people to get, is that we have habitual responses, like automatic responses that, yeah, you're going to do a call and you've never done anything like this before. So it would be very normal, very understandable, very valid to feel anxious about this call. But because you don't want to feel anxious, you were just like, bang, you felt anxious, a second goes by and you switch it off. Like, you have that ability now because you know that the anxiety isn't coming from this call or from these people, it's coming from your thinking, and you're crystal clear on that. And that's what gives you the power and the ability to switch it off like that. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's such an incredible power. Like, when you understand it, it's so easy. It doesn't take any hard work. Honestly, I always thought, oh, it's going to take a bit of hard work. Like, I did therapy took me a couple of years before I actually got somewhere. This is just, it's almost instant. It's not hard work. It's just understanding.
I'm glad you said that, because I know a lot of people get scared about doing this kind of work. Like, sometimes I have a discovery call with someone or just a chat, and they get really scared that doing some coaching is going to reveal something that they just dark about themselves, or it's just going to be hard work or going to be scary. I have that a lot. So what would you say to someone that thinks that not working with Chris, but just working on themselves and developing their understanding about how we work? What would you say to someone that says, oh, I find that really scary? What would you say to them?
What if on the other side of what you uncover is something really amazing? Like, yes, there could be something scary, but there also could be something really amazing Like, what if? And I think that's what got me looking into that area. But also, like, it obviously takes a bit of courage to go in that deep, and because you don't know what's there, and it's natural to be scared about things that
Yeah.
are unknown. But it's the only way is up, really. Once you've discovered it, okay, great, it's there. So what? And there's something you can do about it, and that's the magic. Once you uncover it, it's there.
I would just add to that no one's ever going to find something out about themselves that is that bad. You know, I think at worst we think that there's something really bad about ourselves. Like for me, I knew that deep down, although I was trying to present a certain way, underneath it all, I thought that I was damaged goods. I thought that I was a piece of shit. Like that's what I thought. And so I suppose for me in the older days, I might have been scared that like I was going to discover that I really was a piece of shit. You know, like that was my fear. And I used to think I was broken. And I remember a moment in therapy for me where I realized, oh my God, I'm not broken. I'm not a piece of shit. Like that was just my thinking. So that was incredibly freeing for me. There's nothing that is scary that anyone's going to find about themselves.
Yeah. I feel exactly the same way. So yeah.
The other thing is, I love that you call it a backpack because I tend to call it baggage, and a backpack is baggage, you know, that we carry around. So I love that you called it that. What would you say to someone that? Let me phrase it another way. How important is mindset?
Absolutely 100% important. Because it determines what comes out of your brain. So it's like how you said, you know, if one person was sitting there and we were looking at the same thing, one person would see it as scary and one person would see it as happy. It determines your reality and the way that you feel. It determines even your emotions.
So it's everything.
Everything. Absolutely everything. Yeah.
Another question, it just seems obvious to ask, is so how would you describe, as someone that's had quite a lot of therapy, like myself, like how would you describe the difference between therapy and coaching? Because that was something obviously before we'd started together, you didn't know. Now you know because you've had 8, 9 months of it. What's the difference?
I would say therapy feels like a cycle. So it's almost like you're exploring everything inside that box that I was talking about. You never quite get to see the outside of the box because you are there in therapy to look inside that box, and nobody ever leads you out of it because you always just stay inside that box. And also it's one-sided. I find therapy is very one-sided because the therapist mirrors you and they're never usually allowed to give you any advice, or not advice, but they're not allowed to say anything different to what you are saying. So it's almost like they're just repeating back to you what you're saying. So you never quite get out of your own thinking. And so I never understood that it was coming from my thinking in the first place when I was in therapy. And so you always think, oh, you know, I want to heal from my trauma, but you're actually reinforcing that circle and staying inside the box the whole time because you're trying to understand something that is created by your thinking. But working with you is coming out of that box and really understanding, I guess, like what your brain did when that trauma happened. And it's not just on a scientific level. You helped me understand what I thought at that time and how I got myself into what I was thinking of myself at that point. And once that was made clear to me, and it took a couple of times, we did it in different ways. But once that was made clear to me, I started to see and really believe that it was created by my thinking, because that took me a while. It took me quite a while to understand that. Like I got it. I logically got it, but I was like, I'm not really feeling it. I can't feel it in me. Like, I know what you're talking about, but I don't feel it. I don't really believe it. So once we did it a couple of times, I feel more like, I guess, clarity. Like, it's, you help stay outside of the box and see what possibilities there are. And the questions that you ask help my brain to stay outside of that box and think from outside of that box. It's like brand new thinking. And it's all led by questions. And they're not really hard questions. They're really easy sometimes. But we can go into a really deep like conversation. And I felt like I've almost have like 5 years of therapy in a 1 hour session sometimes. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. And lots of times I've come out of it like mind blown, like, wow, I never thought that this is what I was thinking. Because your mind can really make you see that things, like, you can make an illusion out of what you're seeing, and then you don't realize it's an illusion because you think it's real until someone else puts it in a different way, and you're like, oh shit, like, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's an illusion. So yeah,
But that is like where we need to just dive a bit deeper, because what you just said is so poignant that we just really need people to get this. So
yeah,
what happened? Let me just say what Nanda said. You what happens is you create an illusion, and then you think that that illusion is reality. So let's just back this up with someone with a bit more credibility than little old Chris Finn. Albert Einstein said, reality is an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. He said what Nanda just said. Now, what we do is something happens like a trauma, and then we create a reality inside a box. So something happens, and this box that Nanda's talking about is a bit like a bubble. You know, when you might say someone, I haven't heard this as a figure of speech for a long time, but I've heard in the past someone say, oh, you know, so and such, they're walking around in their own little world, or they're walking around in their own little bubble. Yeah, we all are. That bubble is our box, is our backpack, is our baggage, where it contains our map, our blueprint of ourselves, of what we think about ourselves, of what we think about life, the world, and about other people. So my backpack used to look like I'm a piece of crap. Other people are mean. Other people are out to get me. Life is scary. Life is hard. That was my bubble. That was my box. That was my baggage. And I didn't know it was an illusion. I thought it was reality, because we create our own realities. That's just how we work as human beings. In our formative years, and even in our adult years, we form our blueprints, our maps of the world, and we think that it's a reality and it's an illusion. So in a way, we create our personality, we create our identity, and we create our experience of everything. So what would you say about the work we've done quite recently on creating like a new box, a new bubble, a new reality for you?
yeah, it's been incredible. It was like I had the opportunity to create like a brand new blueprint for where I was coming from. So from all the work we had done, it was like we erased everything, and I had this brand new sheet of thing that I could come from. So where my life and all my decisions that I make on a daily basis and whatever I do could come from this place. And because I realized that I was the creator of my own world, I could create anything I wanted. And so as I started to create what I wanted in that blueprint, like, for example, I wanted more love in my life. I wanted to feel more love. I wanted to spread more love. That was one of the things. Creating that blueprint and choosing to come from that place in everything that I do on my daily basis, it changed so many things. It really changes your thinking. It's like I said, like before, I was coming from a place of trauma. So it's not just one place of trauma. There's like loads of little things that add up, and you create all these little things. And so my blueprint was trauma and anxiety and stress and illness. That's what my blueprint used to be. So I used to make decisions based on that. So all I did was clear everything out, and I created from a place of where I wanted to be. And as I started to come from that place, it was so easy. Like, you don't even have to think about it. It just comes to you naturally. It's like you talked about how you used the metaphor of installing a new program. It's like we installed these programs so that I don't have to think about it, and I come from these places automatically. And it really doesn't take a lot of hard work. It doesn't take any hard work. Like, it's literally automatic. Like, it's so easy, and it blows my mind how I'm sitting here today, and I find it so easy. I never thought I would understand it, because again, I thought, when you explained it to me at first, I thought, oh, isn't that just positive thinking? Isn't that just, oh, so I'm gonna be happy today, and I'm gonna come from this really lovely, happy place. It's not that. It's very, very different. You actually embody it. You feel it. You believe it, and you really come from that place, from the center of your soul. And it's very different to just positive thinking, because positive thinking is a bit like a reaction to something. You're still reacting to something. Whereas this is, you actually come from that place. You come from your heart center, and you live life through that.
Wow, I'm inspired. Okay, one last question, and then we're going to go to the group. What would you say though, like if someone said to you, and like you're not looking, I know you're not a coach, so I'm just asking you for your own personal answer to this, which is all we're doing, right? If someone said to you, yeah, but that won't work for me because of my trauma, or this happened to me, or something happened to me 5 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, what would you say to that? That they can't be happy now because of something that happened to them in the past, or because of their personality, maybe?
I would say that it's your thinking creates your reality. So it's like, it's kind of like saying, like, I would never say my trauma is worse than your trauma, because everybody's trauma is their worst trauma. Because that's how you think about it, and that's how you create it. It's your own. You've been through it. You felt it. So it's similar to that. I would say that it's created. Your thinking about that trauma is created by you. So it's irrelevant what type of trauma it is. It's always created by you, not the trauma, but the way that you've thought about it, and the way that you use it as a blueprint to come from. And it's the same with personality. I didn't understand this, but I understand it now, that your personality is created by your thinking and the way that you present yourself in the world. And if you create your thinking, you can create your personality. So if I'm like an angry person, I create that, which means I can create myself to be a calm person. So it doesn't matter what trauma or whether your personality is such way, you can change that, because you can control and create your own reality and the way that you think.
It's amazing, because even though I know what I know as a experienced coach, like I could imagine someone listening to you and hearing them be like, yeah, but that is just positive thinking, or what are you talking about? Like, I get it. Like it's amazing. I'm just going to quote someone that's called Sydney Banks, who some of you guys I know have heard of, and he said, "It's all thought, all of it." And what he means by that really is we're only ever conscious of our own thinking. It's just the way human beings work. Like, it's not some Chris Finn theory. It's literally the way we work. We're only ever conscious of our own thinking. And guess what is in our control, in our domain? Our thinking. So, Nanda, thank you. Just so that everyone appreciates this, like, Nanda isn't getting paid for speaking tonight. Hang on a minute. just realized I'm not getting paid for speaking tonight either. This is a free call. I'm doing something wrong. This is my business. And think about it. Nanda's not getting paid for speaking tonight. There's lots of reasons I thought it'd be awesome to have Nanda here. And so Nanda, thank you. What I'm going to do now, let me just make sure I'm on the right view. Hang on a second. What I'm going to do now is ask the group if they have any questions. And that question can be directed to me or Nanda. Nanda, are you happy to take questions if there are any questions for you?
Yeah, I'm more than happy.
Awesome. So me and Nanda are happy to take questions. You might want to ask Nanda something. You might want to ask me something. And if you ask me something, I can give you some coaching on it. Nanda's not a coach. She's a physio. So if you've got a bad back or sore tennis elbow or something like that, yes, she can help you, but this isn't the place for it. This is a coaching call. So if you have a question, you can raise your electronic hand or give me a wave on the screen like this, and we can unmute you and you can ask your question. So Lucy, let me unmute you. So you need to unmute Lucy, because it's not letting me unmute you for some reason. Oh, here we go. Hello. Who's it for? Me or Nans?
Well, yeah, Nanda, thank you so much for speaking. It helped so much, like all the things you're saying, and the thing that really, like, how you describe like the therapy versus the coaching, like in terms of, I've never thought of it. The therapy is just understanding what's in your backpack, but still having it with you, whereas the coaching is just letting it go. Like just you don't need to hold on to the backpack. So yeah, really inspired by everything. I guess I was just curious, like what changes you've kind of made. Like, have you done any sort of, like, what have you made in your life, like, since this, like what you've kind of like done as sort of an impact? I'm particularly interested because I'm a physio as well myself, so I just wondered, what changes you've made, like in life, work, everything kind of.
I would probably be here for hours if I told you all the changes that have happened over the last couple of months. Like, it's completely changed my life. It's incredible, and it still does. So one of the things that I had was that I felt like I was never good enough at my job. And I'm a person that just really wants to give until I don't have any more to give, and even then I'll try to give. And so I now feel enough. It's as simple as that. So when I see my patients, I feel very confident. I come from a very different place. I always came from, oh, I must do this and I must do that, and oh, I haven't done enough. Maybe do they feel okay? Do I feel like I've given them enough? Like, I always used to be a bit like that, and I'm not like that at all anymore. And I actually perform so much better because I'm really present with my patients. And I've seen it. I've seen the difference it makes in their progress as well. So I know it's not just me. It's actually impacting the way that they are progressing as well. So that's one of the ways. The other way was that, first of all, when someone talks to me about trauma, I'm like, oh yeah, I had trauma, by the way. I never thought I would ever be able to say that because, like I said, I lived in my box of trauma for so many years. I'm 33 now, and I lived in it for so many years, and I never knew, I never thought I could ever sit here and say I'm free of my trauma, and I've almost forgotten it. It literally feels like that. And then with my ulcerative colitis, I would say that I don't really have it anymore, and I've really realized how much of it was created by my thinking, which is mad because it's one of those examples of where you think that it's not created by thinking. Like, you think, no, it's biological. Like, we understand it. There's this, you have symptoms, blah, blah, blah. There's so much of it that is created by my thinking, and it's incredible how much I've changed. And I've had my colitis for 15 years, and I can sit here and say I don't really have it anymore. The stuff that I have left is definitely created by my thinking, which I'm working on, and I can control now a lot easier because I can create my thinking about it. So yeah, that's some of the examples.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, I'm so inspired by that, and I relate to a lot of it because I've had like sort of fatigue and stuff, and I've realized I created a lot of that,
Yeah.
and now I'm using this, and I have that same with my patients as now. I'm making kind of exactly the same sort of changes, and I'm seeing the difference as well. So
Yeah, that's
it's
amazing.
stuff. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, that's
Thank you.
Thanks, Lucy. That's awesome. And then, like Nans, so given that Lucy's basically asking like what the impact is there anything else? Like, for example, like, and I generally don't know the answer to this question, so it might be a no. But do you think as a result of changing your mindset, you've made more money, or you will make more money in the future because of what we've done?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been I used to be a person, I'm not anymore, who thought that money was evil, but literally that's what it was. It was just a thought. And I stopped coming from that place. I stopped thinking about it. And actually I'm realizing that because I'm coming from myself and my blueprint that I created, which has got nothing to do with money, more money actually comes from it, because I'm coming from a place of where I want to come from, of an authentic place. So yeah, it's weird how that works, but you don't think about the money and it comes to you.
Yeah, nice. And then like another one, and again, you're allowed to sort of boundary these questions if you don't want to answer them. But like another question is like, because I know that, again, it's something else I come across is sometimes people think that investing in themselves, either with the money or the time, or even just spending that attention on themselves, is selfish. So like, how has you working on yourself impacted those people closest to you?
My relationships with everyone around me have blossomed. Even like I said, with my patients, my relationship with my patients has changed. My relationship with my husband has like bloomed, and it's so much more loving than I ever thought it could be. My relationship with my parents, and like I said, that person in my family member that I didn't like, I never ever thought it would ever change, because it's been like that for so many years. And now I'm suddenly having a brand new relationship with him. Like, it blew my mind. It's incredible how much these small things that we've done over the last couple of months has had an effect on so many different parts of my life. Like I said, I could be here sitting, I could tell you a million things. It's just because of the way where you come from, it changes the way other people see you as well, which then changes everything.
Amazing. Thank you. Okay, let's go back and see if there's any other questions. So again, if you have a question for me or Nanda, either wave your hand or put your electronic hand up. Okay, I think everyone is full. Just check. Any questions from anyone? Okay, so just to leave you guys with some thoughts, because that's all there is. If you want more contentment, more joy, more peace, more fulfillment, more anything in your life, it's within your power to get that. If you want it, you can have it. The only thing getting in the way of that is a limiting thought. So if you don't know what that limiting thought is, point yourself in the direction of what you want and take a step. And then you'll find out what that limiting thought is. Because this is your life. You've been gifted this life. And it's yours. It's all yours. All the rules are made up. You can make up some of your own rules. So thanks again, Nanda. That's awesome. We have another group coaching call in about a week's time. I forget the date. It's been sent to you on an email, and I'll resend it to you in an email. And we're going to do more of the same. We won't have a speaker this time, apart from myself, and I'll be coaching you guys on more of this stuff. So if this has been helpful to you, you're welcome to share the recording. If it's been helpful for you, you're welcome to tell other people about this work, because it is life-changing. That's why I do what I do, because it changed my life. And so there's nothing else for me to do apart from spread the joy. And if you like that, hang around. So if you have any last words for Nanda or myself, just wave your hand and we'll take you off mute. Yeah, Ali, let me click this button and it will ask you to unmute yourself. There you go.
Just kind of simply wanted to say that thank you, Nanda, for speaking, because so many of the things that you said just resonated with me really deeply. And I wanted to just sort of say thank you. So that's all.
That's really lovely. That touched my heart. Thank you so much for appreciating it and listening to me. I hope I've inspired everyone else as well.
Thanks, Nanda. That's amazing. Okay, thanks, Ali. Okay, anyone else? One last chance. Okay, so there is lots more to come in these calls, lots more. So hopefully I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. You're welcome to share this, as I say. If you have any questions that come to you after this, you can email me. It might take me a while because I'm away for a week now, but I will respond. But yeah, Nance, thanks again. You're awesome. Love you. And I'll see you guys all soon. All right, much love. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.